was the boogeyman.
As a matter of fact, it was.
What's going on, horror fanatics? Welcome to I Shot Him 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel. As you know, I'm your host and creator of the channel, Marcus, and in this video, I will be discussing how Scream 7 could actually serve as the second chapter of Scream 6, not only bringing Sidney Prescott back in a film focused on her, but also serving as a way to not ignore Scream 5 and 6, the Carpenter-Loomis storyline, and the core 4 characters as a whole, setting up for those characters, along with most of our legacy characters, to return in Scream 8, and finally put an end to the timeline that the original started in 1996. If you haven't done so already, please shoot this video a like. It helps out with the YouTube algorithm a ton, as well as if you happen to be a new viewer coming across this channel, please shoot that subscribe button as well as the notification icon so you get all the latest content updates to the channel. As we are all well aware, the direction of the next Scream film is in a state of disarray after Spyglass Media fired Melissa Barrera from the project as Samantha Carpenter, as well as the exit of Jenna Ortega due to scheduling conflicts and a pay dispute. Rumors are swirling that a full-blown reboot is in the works, with the hope that Neve Campbell will return as Sidney Prescott, but also a reboot that would essentially ignore Scream 5 and 6 and the Carpenter sisters / Core 4 story altogether. However, in this video, I will explain how Scream 6 opens the door for this scenario to not be necessary, with a few clues and plot holes that could actually serve as a Chapter 2 / side story for Sidney Prescott in Scream 7. That could subsequently lead us into Scream 8, where we get everyone back in the same film without having to ignore Scream 5 and 6, keeping the timeline that we know intact. In Scream 6, we get the reveal that Scream 5 killer Richie Kirsch's family, the quote-unquote Baileys, led by Detective Wayne Bailey, are behind these latest murders to avenge the death of Richie and kill anyone who had anything to do with his death. That would include Sidney Prescott, who, as we are all well aware, was not in the 6th film, and in my opinion kind of put a damper on that piece of dialogue from the killer reveal monologue from Detective Bailey about killing everyone involved with Richie's death. Even in the rough draft script of the film, Bailey acknowledges having to fly to Seattle to kill Sidney after killing the others, but this dialogue was cut. However, something, or should I say someone, who was also cut from the original killer reveal monologue could play a role in going after Sidney in Scream 7, during the time or directly after the Baileys go after Sam and the Core 4 in New York, finding Sidney in the safe place that she took Mark and their kids. In the rough draft script for Scream 6, the original plan for Detective Bailey's wife / Richie, Ethan, and Quinn's mother was to have Ethan mention in the killer reveal monologue the fact that he killed her for not wanting to avenge Richie's death, but this dialogue was cut from the film. This could mean that the mother of Richie Kirsch could very well be alive, leaving the opportunity for her to be the one to go after Sidney. It would make sense, being not only does it once again pay homage to Scream 2 killer Nancy Loomis, Billy Loomis's mom, but Sidney herself now has kids and are rumored to be involved in Scream 7, with some fans even speculating that Ghostface not only goes after, but even kidnaps Sidney's kids. Richie's mom would be perfect for this, as it brings forth an eye for an eye, you harmed my kid, now I harm your kid type of story and mentality. But of course, she would not be doing this alone. In Scream 6, we get introduced to Richie's Stab / Scream franchise shrine, where all 9 gowns from the previous killers, including his, are displayed. In the film, we get to see Richie, Charlie and Jill, Roman Bridger, Nancy Loomis, Stu Macher, and Billy Loomis's mask be presented. However, when you take into account that Charlie Walker and Jill Roberts' mask was a shared mask, as was confirmed through DNA testing of the mask by Detective Bailey, that means only 6 of the 9 killers in the franchise's mask was presented, meaning Mickey Altieri, Amber Freeman, and an unknown killer's mask wasn't presented in the film and are missing, added to the potential that there are 3 more killers that haven't been revealed who are wearing said masks and going after Sidney, while Wayne, Ethan, and Quinn go after the others. Now, whether or not the killers wearing Mickey and Amber's mask are relatives of theirs or just fans of those killers is for you to decide. And though I know many are tired of relatives of previous killers being revealed as killers themselves, one of the many things that are consistent about the Scream franchise is that it's about family, tragedy, and revenge. As for Stu Macher, my fellow Stu truthers out there who want to see him return in Scream 7 and revealed alive as the leader of the Ghostface cult, in my opinion, it may be best to hold this idea off until Scream 8. The reason being, many of us believe it was Stu who attacked Gale Weathers in her apartment in Scream 6, given the many clues in that scene that point to him being the attacker despite Quinn Bailey taking credit. If the direction is to have Sidney being hunted by Ghostface during or directly after the events of Scream 6 and Scream 7, there is no way it could be Stu hunting her in Seattle for the duration of the movie, being he is in New York. However, what could happen is we continue to get subtle, yet more heightened Easter eggs that point to him being alive, culminating in him showing up at the end of the film, unrevealed, killing Sidney's husband Mark Kincaid, whether while Mark is speaking to Sidney on the phone or by sending an image, text, or video of Mark being killed, leading into Stu calling Sidney, where we get the iconic phrase, "Hello, Sidney," before the end credit rolls, ending Scream 7 on a cliffhanger, something most fans were okay with in terms of an idea to incorporate Sidney in Scream 6. When you add in the fact that Sidney and Mark would be surrounded by new characters we'd just be getting to know, with most of them probably being killed off with no need to develop them, killing Mark would not only be taking the risk Scream 6 failed at by killing a likable, developed, returning character, but it would also add a new layer of tragedy to Sidney's story, while continuing her story to be continued along with Samantha's story in Scream 8. I know many want to see Sidney have her happy ending in Scream 7, but given the fact that Sid's timeline runs concurrent with Samantha's timeline makes that difficult, being, as Sam said to Dewey, as long as Sam is in danger from Ghostface, so is Sidney. Another thing to take into account in regard to Stu Macher possibly returning to Scream 7 or not returning to Scream 7 is the fact that at the moment, it seems that co-writer of Scream 5 and 6, Guy Busick, who is a massive Stu Macher fan, is not returning to co-write Scream 7. I believe Busick is a big reason we got the subtle Easter eggs pointing to the potential of Stu being alive in both films, and if he is not returning to co-write Scream 7, it does cast some small doubt in my mind that we actually do get Stu back in Scream 7. But as more time progresses, we'll have to see if Guy is going to return to co-write Scream 7, so we'll just have to wait and see how that situation with Guy unfolds. As far as Kirby Reed and Gale Weathers are concerned, given the fact that I believe the story with Sidney could and would take place during or directly after their confrontations with Ghostface in Scream 6, much like the Core 4, they would not be in Scream 7 either, as not only are they in New York City, but they would both be in the hospital recovering from their injuries, making their absence not only to make sense, but acceptable as well, especially when you consider they had very little screen time in Scream 6 as it was, and Scream 7 is operating as a Sidney Prescott-centric story. Having these two take a backseat in 7 isn't that bad of an idea, especially when you can reincorporate them in Scream 8 with no issue in my opinion. Now, of course, Spyglass Media would have to sell the rights to the Scream franchise in order for us to get Melissa Barrera to return as Samantha Carpenter for a potential Scream 8 film. However, if that were to happen, I think making Scream 7's events take place as Scream 6's events is playing out or directly after those events, along with the other things that I've discussed here in the video, make Scream 8 and the possibility of getting a conclusion to the Core 4 storyline, along with Sidney Prescott's happy ending in one film, ending the 1996 timeline, very possible. And as a side note, having Scream 7's events take place directly after the events of Scream 6 leaves the door open for a wintertime setting with Ghostface slashing through the snow, something many fans will love to see in the 7th film. But okay everyone, that is it for this video. Leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts on Scream 7 being a second chapter of sorts to Scream 6, keeping the current timeline and characters intact, also leading us into a potential Scream 8. Do you like this idea, or would you rather they reboot the franchise and completely ignore Scream 5 and 6 and the Core 4 characters and start off fresh with a new timeline for Sidney Prescott? Once again, this is Asham 6 Times YouTube Horror Movie Channel. I'm your host and creator of the channel, Marcus. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon. Thank you all for watching.